I've had sleep paralysis since I was 15, but it used to be rare. Once or twice a year, tops. Scary, sure. Waking up frozen, heart pounding, trying to scream through a locked jaw. But nothing ever showed up. Until last summer. I had just moved into a tiny upstairs studio in Austin. Old building. Built in the 1930s. I loved it for the creaky floors and antique moldings, but my bedroom faced the hallway, and the door never quite closed right. It always stayed cracked a few inches. No matter how I propped it or jammed the latch, that door would slowly ease itself open again overnight. I used to joke that the place had character. One night in August, I fell asleep on top of the covers, window open, box fan humming. It was around 2 a.m. when I woke up, except I couldn't move. If you've never experienced sleep paralysis, imagine your brain being fully awake but your body stuck in a coma. You try to blink, scream, shift your arm. Nothing works. You're trapped inside your own skin, aware of everything. I was staring at the ceiling when I heard a soft creak. My eyes darted to the doorway. That's when I saw it. A shape, tall, black, hunched, standing just outside the bedroom, right behind the cracked door. It wasn't moving. It wasn't breathing, just watching. I thought I was hallucinating, until it grabbed the edge of the door and slowly pulled it open wider. I wanted to scream. My jaw was locked. I couldn't even make a sound in my throat. The buzzing in my ears grew louder, almost like a dull hum, vibrating through my skull. The thing stepped into the room. I couldn't make out a face, just a tall, thin figure with arms too long and hands that dragged along the floor. Its legs bent the wrong way. It made no noise, but I could hear something in my ears. This buzzing, like electrical static mixed with whispering. It walked up to the side of my bed and bent over me. Its head was inches from mine, just hovering there. Its breath smelled like damp earth and copper, and then, very clearly, I heard it say, "Still pretending you're asleep?" I swear to God it grinned, and I woke up gasping, heart racing, drenched in sweat. Full movement returned. Room was empty. Door was still slightly cracked. Here's the part that freaks me out most. Ever since that night, the sleep paralysis comes more often. Once a week at least. And that door always opens wider. This happened when I was in college, living in a cheap shared rental just outside Chattanooga, Tennessee. It was one of those falling-apart houses with a weird layout. My bedroom had an old ceiling vent right above the bed, a big square one with rusty slats that led into the attic. That detail matters. You'll see why. I'd never had sleep paralysis before moving into that house, not once. But within the first month of living there, it started happening. Always around the same time. 3:10 or 3:15 a.m., like clockwork. It started off mild. I'd wake up frozen, eyes wide open, and just stare at the ceiling, terrified. Nothing was there, at least not at first. Then one night, I felt it, not a presence in the room, but above me. Something was watching. I couldn't explain it. But my entire body screamed that something was behind that vent. I could see it clearly from my bed. It looked normal, still, empty, but my chest got tighter and tighter like I was being crushed under a weight. And then I saw an eye. It was pressed right up against the slats of the ceiling vent. Just one, wide, staring, unmoving, pale iris, almost silver in the dark. Bloodshot. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe, couldn't scream. It just watched me. The eye blinked once, slowly, and I swear on my life, I heard something scurry, like bare hands and knees dragging across the attic floor above me. The paralysis broke a few seconds later. I jumped out of bed, grabbed a flashlight, and opened the hallway attic access. I fully expected to find a raccoon or something. There was nothing, except for a torn-up blanket, a disposable cup, and what looked like a dent in the insulation where someone had been lying flat, belly down, right over my bed. I didn't sleep in that room again. My roommate helped me seal the vent shut with duct tape and a board. I moved to the couch until I could afford a new place, but even now, sometimes when I close my eyes at night, I get the feeling something is just overhead, waiting for me to freeze again. I worked nights at a group home in rural Oregon for a while, 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., 5 nights a week. It was quiet most of the time. The residents were adults with developmental disabilities, and my job was basically to make sure no one wandered, got sick, or had a seizure in their sleep. I'd sit in this little office between the two hallways, lights dim, door open, just doing paperwork or reading. I never drank caffeine. Too jumpy. Didn't need it, but one night I nodded off around 2 a.m. I was sitting upright in the chair, pen still in hand. When I woke up, I knew right away it was sleep paralysis. I couldn't move. Not my fingers, not my head. I could see the clock on the desk. 2:41 a.m. I could hear the soft buzz of the hallway light and the hum of the fridge in the kitchen. Everything felt painfully normal, except for the figures in the doorway. There were 3 of them. Short, like kids. But they weren't kids. They had no clothes, no hair, just grayish skin, stretched tight. Their faces looked human but wrong. Their mouths were too wide, and their eyes were huge, round and glassy. They were watching me, not moving, not blinking. Tried to speak. Nothing. My jaw was locked. I couldn't even twitch my fingers. Then one of them tilted its head and stepped into the office. It moved like it didn't have joints, just this fluid, twitchy motion, like a puppet being dragged by strings. It leaned down, close to my face. It opened its mouth, but instead of words, I heard every sound in the house spike at once. The fridge, the lights, the electric panel, all blaring in my ears like a high-pitched screech. It felt like my brain was being microwaved, and then I blacked out. When I came to, it was 3:03 a.m. My pen was still in my hand, and I was sitting the exact same way. But the office light was off. I hadn't turned it off, and when I went to check the hallway cameras later out of curiosity, they had all glitched out between 2:40 and 3:05 a.m. Solid black screen. No footage. I tried to write it off as a dream, but something about their eyes. They never blinked. Not once. I was 31 when it started. After a breakup, new job, and moving into a one-bedroom apartment in Flagstaff, Arizona. Nothing about the place seemed off. It was small, a little outdated, but quiet and cheap. I liked it. The first incident happened 3 weeks in. I was asleep, or thought I was, when I woke up around 4:15 a.m. completely paralyzed. I knew what it was. I'd heard of sleep paralysis before, but never experienced it. My eyes darted around, but everything else was frozen. Even breathing felt like a manual process. Then I heard a voice, not in my head, in the room. A deep male voice at the foot of the bed. It whispered, "There you are." I wanted to scream, but my throat wouldn't respond. All I could do was lie there, cold sweat soaking the sheets, while this presence just watched me. I couldn't see it. The room looked empty, but I knew it was there. The moment I broke free, I jumped up, flipped on every light, and didn't sleep for the rest of the night. I figured it was stress, a hallucination, a one-time thing, but it happened again and again, and each time it got worse. The voice would say different things, always from the same spot at the foot of the bed. "I see you. You can't move, can you? It's better this way." Once I felt the mattress compress near my legs, like someone had climbed up onto it. Slow, deliberate pressure moving toward my chest. I could feel each finger press against me like ice, but I never saw a face. Not at first. That changed on the 6th night. This time, I didn't wake up paralyzed. I was wide awake. Lights were off. Everything was normal. But I had this crushing urge to look toward the closet, and there it was, a tall figure, hunched, slightly, standing half in, half out of the shadows. I couldn't see its face, but its head was tilted, like it was studying me. I blinked, and it was suddenly at the foot of the bed. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. Its face was blank, like wax melting, featureless except for a mouth that never moved and 2 hollow holes for eyes. But the voice was still there, deep and steady, inside my head now. "Lie still." I blacked out. Not fell asleep. Blacked out. When I came to, the alarm clock said 5:44 a.m. I was drenched in sweat. The sheets were twisted around my legs like I'd been fighting something all night. I started sleeping on the couch. It followed me. I stayed at a friend's place for a few nights. It came there too. One night I heard it whisper from inside the closet, "You left the door open." I hadn't. Eventually I saw a doctor, got medication, changed sleep routines, moved apartments, and for a while, it stopped. Until 2 months ago,